Supreme Overlord Kethmaran gazed through the panoramic viewport of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, at the swirling majesty of the Milky Way galaxy. For 3 millennia, the hegemony had swept across the cosmos like an unstoppable tide, bringing order to chaos and purpose to the primitive species that cluttered the universe with their insignificant existence. 47 galaxies had fallen before their advance. 47 collections of stars, worlds, and civilizations that had been absorbed into the greater glory of the hegemony. Each conquest had followed the same predictable pattern: initial contact, demonstration of superior force, swift capitulation, and integration. The process had become so routine that Kethmaran often found himself bored by the ease of it all. "Status report, War Prime Vex Thul," he commanded, his voice carrying the authority of one who had never known defeat. The towering figure beside him, encased in biomechanical armor that pulsed with neural interfaces, responded without turning from his tactical displays. "Advanced fleets have secured 17 systems in the outer spiral arms, Overlord. Resistance has been negligible." Kethmaran nodded with satisfaction. The pattern held true, even here. This galaxy's inhabitants, dozens of species scattered across thousands of worlds, had proven no more challenging than any others. Their technology was primitive, their military doctrine laughably outdated, their unity non-existent. Most species had surrendered within hours of witnessing the hegemony's power. "What of the central systems?" Kethmaran inquired, studying the holographic display that showed their force's steady advance toward the galaxy's core. Token resistance from something called the Galactic Council, Vex Thul, replied with what might have been amusement. "A loose confederation of species attempting coordinated defense. Their combined fleets number in the low thousands. Hardly worth deploying our primary battle groups." The Overlord allowed himself a moment of contempt for such weakness. In their home galaxy, the hegemony maintained a standing fleet of over 50 million vessels. Here, these primitive civilizations celebrated possessing a few thousand ships, as if it represented meaningful military power. "There is one anomaly, however," Vex Thul continued, his tone shifting slightly. "Our intelligence reports indicate a species called humans that has been uncharacteristically resistant to standard conversion protocols." Kethmaran's interest sharpened. In 47 galaxies, only 3 species had required more than demonstration of force to secure compliance. Each had possessed unique characteristics that made them valuable additions to the hegemony's war machine. "Elaborate." "They appear to be a young species, technologically inferior to most galactic civilizations. Single planet origin, limited expansion, modest fleet strength. By all conventional metrics, they should have surrendered immediately upon witnessing our capabilities. Yet they have not?" "Correct." When offered standard terms of integration, their leadership responded with what our translators interpret as creative profanity. They then began evacuating civilian populations and mobilizing for what they termed total war. Kethmaran found this puzzling. Species that chose extinction over integration were rare, usually driven by religious fanaticism or genetic abnormalities that made them unsuitable for hegemony purposes. Perhaps these humans possessed some hidden technological advantage. Fleet composition analysis? Approximately 800 vessels, primarily concentrated around their homeworld. Technology level, roughly equivalent to the Galactic Council's standard plasma weapons. Basic energy shields, conventional faster-than-light drives. Nothing that should pose a threat to even our scout flotillas. The Overlord considered this information. Perhaps these humans were simply too primitive to understand the futility of resistance. Deploy Battle Group 7 to their home system. Standard overwhelming force demonstration should resolve this matter quickly. 6 hours later, Kethmaran found himself staring at something that defied 3,000 years of hegemony doctrine. a tactical stalemate. Impossible, he breathed, watching the real-time battle feeds from the Sol system. Battle Group 7 5,000 warships, representing more firepower than most civilizations could imagine, had entered the system expecting routine submission. Instead, they had encountered something unprecedented: humans who fought as if defeat was not an option. The human fleet was outnumbered 6-1, outgunned by factors of magnitude, and facing technology centuries ahead of their own. By every logical calculation, they should have been annihilated within minutes. Instead, they had been locked in combat for 4 hours, trading losses at rates that shocked the hegemony command structure. War Prime, explain this, Kethmaran demanded. Vex Thul's biomechanical features displayed confusion that matched his superiors. The humans appear to be employing tactical doctrines we have never encountered. They coordinate their vessels with impossible precision, sacrifice individual ships to achieve strategic advantages, and refuse to retreat even when facing certain destruction. The tactical display showed human ships performing maneuvers that violated basic self-preservation instincts. Damaged vessels rammed into hegemony dreadnoughts instead of withdrawing. Entire squadrons deliberately entered kill zones to create openings for their companions. Most disturbing of all, human ships continued fighting even when their life support systems had failed. They are treating this conflict as if their entire species' existence depends on victory, Vex Thul observed. Our psychological warfare specialists report that human crews prefer death to capture. They have begun detonating their own ships rather than allowing boarding parties to secure them. Kethmaran watched a human destroyer, its hull cracked open and atmosphere venting into space, ram itself into the bridge of a hegemony battlecruiser. Both ships vanished in a brilliant explosion that claimed 3,000 lives, 2,900 of them hegemony personnel. Status of Battle Group 7, 18% casualties and rising overlord. The humans are down to less than 200 operational vessels. But Vex Thul paused, struggling with concepts that had no place in hegemony doctrine. But they continue to inflict disproportionate losses. Their tactical adaptability exceeds our combat algorithm's ability to predict. For the first time in 3 millennia, Kethmaran felt something approaching uncertainty. This was not how conquest proceeded. Primitive species were supposed to recognize superior force and submit. They were not supposed to turn every engagement into a blood-soaked stalemate that cost the hegemony irreplaceable resources. Orders, Overlord? Vex Thul asked. Kethmaran stared at the tactical display, watching human ships continue their impossible resistance. In the distance, he could see other species' fleets beginning to rally around the human defensive positions. The humans' refusal to surrender was inspiring others to fight with unprecedented determination. Withdraw Battle Group 7, he commanded quietly. Overlord? You heard me. Full withdrawal. And send communications to all advanced fleets. No further engagement with human forces until we develop new tactical approaches. As the Eternal Dominion retreated from Sol System, Kethmaran contemplated the unthinkable. For the first time in the hegemony's existence, they had encountered an enemy that might actually be capable of stopping them. The age of effortless galactic conquest had just ended at the hands of a species that refused to accept the inevitable.